In this video, we're going to create the start site for Zauber. I have a brand new Razor class library created, and all I've done is add in some JavaScript, CSS, and some assets that come with the Bootstrap template. We're going to be making this Bootstrap template. It's just a free, clean blog theme ready to hook up into your favorite CMS. So we're going to use that as the starter site template. I've downloaded that, copied the JS here, the CSS, and just the other assets that are part of the template. Like I said, this is just a Razor class library. I've then created some folders to remind me of the things that we need to create and show in this starter site. So we've got some content blocks for the block list editor. Your content views will be the template. I want to show a custom component. Your layouts are just normal layouts in Blazor, and we'll have some shared components just to make things a bit quicker for development wise. And then I have an imports here, which I'll uncomment as I go just to put in the namespaces so I don't have to keep typing them in or using the autocomplete. The .web has referenced this project. Obviously, the idea is once this is released, it will be done with NuGet packages. So you just install a NuGet package into your solution, and then your packages like this will be just NuGet packages. And all this needs to do is needs to reference the .components. So I'm just going to reference .components, and obviously that will be .components will be a NuGet package, and you will just install that into your starter site or your project extension, whatever it is you're building. Great. So we've got the assets in now, and then what we're going to do is start building out the pages for the starter site. I deleted the database before, so I'm just going to run this up now. We should end up with a completely blank site. There we go. So 404 components loaded. So what we need to do is go to /admin, and then we need to register as a new user because there isn't any. So I'll just go. We'll use these. Email address and then a password. Actually, because there's no users and it's a brand new database, the first user that's registered will be assigned an admin role, and then it will redirect you to the admin. There we go. So now we're into a completely blank CMS. Great. So the site structure we want to build is going to be this. We're going to have a website, which will be the root item. We'll have a home page, and about us that will be a text page, so we could create different pages from that. A blog with a blog page underneath and a contact. So we'll have a structure like this in the tree. We tend to have the website as a root and the other pages as children. So the website can be has settings and other things which the other pages can use by traversing the tree. Great, let's add the main layout now. So we'll come in here and we will add the main layout. I'm just going to copy and paste some code in to make things quicker. I'll explain it, but it is just a Blazor layout. So we will create in the layouts, we will add a Blazor component, and we will call it main layout, which is going to be just as it says, the main layout component. We'll just turn that off for a minute. Great. Okay, just paste some code in, and then we want to make sure we get the namespaces in. In fact, I can do the imports now, I think. So I actually uncommented or commented out some import namespaces. Let's just uncomment them now so everything works fine. Okay, the only things in here you need to worry about is I've set a render mode as a static here, just so I can set the render mode without having to write the full namespace. And I've injected the mediator instance and the navigation manager in the import so I can use them throughout without having to keep injecting them. There's no magic there. Great, so let's just tidy up this Okay, and this is the main layout for the page. Let me tidy up the code. Head content is in the app. .razor, it means you can just inject things into the head, and I've created another section outlet here, which is just a Blazor thing. If you're not sure about section outlets, just look them up on the Blazor website, just so I can, as the pages, I can inject into the head of this layout if I want to in my sub pages. I've created another one here for breadcrumb. So this here, this is just HTML from the template that I've pulled out. Again, there's nothing in this page that's not normal Blazor. The only thing that we have on here is I've done an uninitialized, and I am going to use the querying to get the website, which is the root, and I am going to pull out things like I'm going to create a nav bar, and I'm going to pull out the nav items. So if we use that, let's use that nav bar actually. If I create a nav bar, so let's create a nav bar. Again, what I'm putting in here is just from the just the code from the template, the Bootstrap template. All I've done is I've just added some Razor to it. Again, this is just a Blazor component. All I've done is I've created a nav bar. I'm going to pass the website in as a parameter, have a little function in the page just to determine whether the page is active or not, just to highlight in the navigation, and it just loops through and creates the normal Bootstrap nav items. So if I go back to my nav layout, that should now be blue. You can see I'm passing in the website, which I defined down here, which we showed as the parameter. Great, so we've got a layout. We're using the at body, which is using all of them, and I'm just getting out a property here called footer text, which we'll add in a second. And now I think what we'll do is we'll add in some blank pages, some blank views, which we'll use on what's the content types, which are like the blueprint for content. So let's add some blank ones in for now. We'll add in, based on the structure I showed you, we're going to need a home view, I think, which will be the template for the home view. We are going to need a text page view. In fact, I'm just going to create them all and pause the video, otherwise the videos will be quite long, and then I'll go through and show you them. Great. So as you can see now, I've just created the content views, which are based on the structure that we spoke about at the beginning. They're all the same at the moment, but to use or to have a view be found, I'm going to paste in a couple of things. First things first, we want to use the main layout, which we made a minute ago, and then we want to make sure we implement iContent view. So let's just implement that. That will pass in a content as a parameter. So we need to make sure that this is a parameter, because this is what is fed to the page. So we can use it and all the properties and things from the current page. So when the home page is loaded, obviously we try and load the home content, and then we can grab the properties from that. So that's all we need really to get us going. We can obviously just say you'd put your content here. We will create these in a bit more depth using that Bootstrap template in a moment, but what we'll do is we'll create, I'll just put this interface on all of these and get them ready, and then I'll pause that now and do that, and then we will switch over and we will start creating the content types in the admin. Okay, I've done that, so we're ready to go now. So if I want to run the app, let's just open another window, just bear with me, there we go. And now we're going to go to the admin, and then content. I think we've seen this in the docs if you've not looked at it, but the content is where your content is for the structure of the page, structure of the site, sorry. So the actual data or pages you're going to put data in. Media is just media. Settings is where we're going to set up all the content types. Users is obviously the users of the site. We're going to go into settings, and in here we're going to start creating the content types now for the site. So as we saw initially, we're going to follow this. So we're going to make a website, a home, about us, a blog, a contact. So we'll make a few of those, and then I will probably just copy them across and pause the video so you don't have to see them all being made, just to speed the video up. So I'm going to create a content type. I'm going to call this website because this is going to be the root item. So this is going to be allowed at the tree root. And we don't need, as you can see, all these are obviously built in, but the ones we created here with the iContent view, they're now showing up as content views we could use for this content. But because this is a website root and we don't want to show this, we want to actually show the home page, we don't need to set any views on this. I will add a tab on here and we will call it content. And we will add a property. We will add a text box and we will call it footer text. That's all we need to do, I think. So we'll save that. And in our content types, you can see, oh, we haven't set, we can set an icon. That'll do for now. Let's set an icon and you can see now our website's made. So actually let's create, we'll go to our settings root and we'll create another content type and we will create the home page. And let's add an icon now. Let's just choose a home icon. Now again, this doesn't need to be allowed at the root because we want it to be underneath the website. It's not an element type and we probably want to add the home view. Great, so let's add a tab now. And we are going to add a content tab. And then I think we'll add a meta tab so we can have a page title, a meta description. And then, okay, let's start adding some properties to this. So we're going to have, based on the Bootstrap template, there's a heading, a subheading, and like a header image, and then you have the content of the actual page. So let's just add those in. Let's have a heading. We'll use a text box. We'll have a heading. And then we're going to add another text box down here, and we'll call that subheading. And then we're going to add, we need an image picker. So let's have media picker. And this media picker we'll call header image. And then we're going to configure this. We only want to allow an image and we only want to allow one to be picked. And then we'll add some content. We'll just add a rich text editor for content. Add property rich text editor. And we'll call that content, just for the sake of it. And the meta we'll just add in the page, text box here. And then we'll have a page title. And then we'll add a text area and we'll have a meta description. Great, and we'll save that. Awesome. So we've got the two there. So we've got a website at the root, and then we're going to allow a home to go underneath it, which has a heading, a subheading, a header image, some content, which is to be a rich text editor. Then we have a page title and meta description. I'm going to create the other content types now, just so we have them all done. Then I'll run through them just so you don't have to see me creating them all. Obviously, the quickest thing I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to copy the home page and just edit them from there, just to speed up. But you don't need to see me doing that. I will just pause it and do that now. Okay, so I've created the other content types. I'll quickly run through them just to show you the properties, but very quickly. They're all very similar, just some of them have some other properties. So obviously we created the website and the home page. I have created a text page, which is pretty much exactly the same as the home page as a content and meta. I've created a contact page. Now the only difference with this, apart from the other one, is I've added a form tab and I've added a custom component picker. So you can add custom Blazor components to pages and render them on the page. So we're going to create a contact form and we're going to pick it and then we're going to render it onto the page. The blog is exactly the same, apart from there's no content editor, because it's just going to list the posts. And the blog page we have on the content tab, we're actually going to use a block list editor, which I'll go into in more detail in a moment. And then the header is just the same header tab, the header, the subheading, and the header image, and the meta is the meta. And that's it. What we need to do is we want to upload some of the media that was available with these template. So we're just going to go into the media section. I'm going to create a folder called images. I'm going to save that. And in this images folder, I'm just going to upload a load of the images. I just need to find them. Okay, they're actually in the start site. So if we open this up, and we put them in the assets. So these are the files that are available. So you can just batch upload them, hit open. It'll add them in with the name of the file, hit save, and they're all uploaded. There we go, they're all in there. So we can use those now for the media picker and when we create the pages, which I think we'll do now actually. So if we go to the content section, when we hit create content, we should only get the website because that's the only one we've allowed at the root. We'll click website content type, and let's create this. We'll call this CMS, or actually we'll call it starter site. And then this will be the footer text, maybe. And that will be fine. Now, what we have got is just want to make sure that we haven't got any content views selected because we didn't actually select any before. Because this is the root, we only want this to show in the root. We don't want to show this, sorry, we don't want this root item to show when we hit the home page. We want the home page to show. So we're going to add this one in here, and that will add it in here, as you can see. So now underneath this website, I want to create a home page. So we hit home, and we'll call this home. So this will be the heading for the home page, which will be, we'll call it starter site, and then we'll just call it start site. And for the header image, we can open up the media picker, and we can use, I'm not sure, it's a home BG. There you go. And for the content, what I'll do is I will copy some bacon ipsum. I've got a tab open now, and I will just paste that in. So there's some text, and we can put a page title as starter site. That's it. Great. So let's save that. Great. As you can see, we've got our structure started now for the site. So there's only one thing I need to do here, and I will make out the other pages, but I'll probably pause the video when I've created the other pages. When someone hits the root of the site, we don't want to show the starter site, we want to show the home page. So on the root item, if you go into the system tab, you can see we have an internal redirect ID. So we can just add in the home page here, and we want to save that. So now when we come into the root of the site, it looks up the roots page. It will actually internally redirect and just show the home page. Just one thing to check, make sure we have, there we go, our home view is selected. It should select the, if there's only one, it should, or if there's many, it should select the first one it finds, so there's always a view. You always know if you haven't selected the, we go back here, on the pages, home page, whatever, here we go. If you haven't selected here, you'll get a error come up saying that obviously you're missing your view or template. So I have already assigned all of these templates to the pages, so the correct ones on the correct content type, so they should just work. I'm just going to build out the structure that I showed you here. I'm just going to pause the video while I do that because it just keeps the video short and there's nothing that you haven't seen just now. I'm just going to create the pages, add some content, and then we'll run through each page. Okay, I've just created the other pages. So we just got the website, we have a home page, we have an about us, a contact us, and the blog. So about us is the same as the home page. Contact us, the only thing that's going to go on there is we're going to create a contact us page, a contact form, and add that to this page. And then obviously under the blog pages, I'm going to create some blog pages, but I want to use the block list editor, which we haven't set up yet. So what I'm going to do now is we're going to just quickly whiz back to the website here, and if we go to the home view, we haven't set any content, or we haven't used the template or the HTML. So I'm just going to pop that in now. So we'll paste that in. Let me just stop this for the moment. There we go. Great. So we had the content view, which we had before. We did the main layout. Now I've added in a page title, which is going to pull through the page title property that you saw me adding, and I default to the heading if there's no page title. This section content is what I showed you in the main layout. It's just a Blazor thing for being able to add content into the head, or so obviously we add the meta description and things like that in there. We go to the home view, and then this is the header. We added in a header image. If you remember, I haven't got that open at the moment, but if you remember, it had a header at the top with an image, a heading, a subheading, and then it went into some content. And then what I've done is I want to preview. I want to put some blog pages on the home page. So I've created a blog post preview component here, and I'm going to pass in each of the blog posts into there. So I will just pop that in there for the minute. I'll go through what I'm doing at the bottom. So the content is obviously the default parameter that you have. I've then created some private variables just so I can store things and get things out. So on initialized, I'm using the querying. Again, this is all in the docs. So I'm going to query some content. I'm going to get 4. I'm going to get the blog page, the content type alias, and I'm going to order them by date. And then I am going to then pass them to this blog posts variable. I'm then going to loop these blog posts, and I am going to put a preview out there, so a header, a little description, and a link to the page. So if we go to the blog post preview, you see I pass in the content, and then I just use the blog post preview HTML from the template. So I pass in the URL, the name, I get the summary, and so on and so forth. So let's come through here. Right, let's go back. Here, I think we'll do. Let's run this now. I think actually for the time being, and we'll go back. We'll add some up. Let's just see if this runs. So at the moment, we've got all the content in. We have the content view showing here. Obviously, we haven't put blog posts in, but I hope my error handling should just not show them. Let's just run it and see what happens. Great, there we go. So we have the starter site running, and we have the navigation, which I'll run through in a second. It just adds the pages. I think I did show that at the beginning. It just runs through the pages underneath the website. So we've got About Us, Contact Us, and Blog. So there's no blogs because we can't show those. We haven't added the form yet. About Us is just a text box. And again, the blog posts are not shown on the home page because we haven't set that up. Okay, that's great. So let's just go back to here, and we'll stop that for the moment. And let's create the element types for the block list now. I think that would be the best bet. Again, I think I said about the navigation, the nav bar here. I'm just looping through the children of the website item, which is just passed in, and I'm just spitting them out on the page to make that nav at the top there. Now that's what I'm going to do is fire this up again, and we will create. We got the wrong tab, and let's go to the admin, and we will create the block list editor stuff now. So on the blog page, we created a block list editor, and then let's have a look here. I think I saw a summary on there. Just bear with me a second. Yes, I saw a summary. So I think what I've done is I've called subheading, when actually I called it summary on the other bit. We're just going to save that as summary now, just so that the views work that I created. Okay, so we want to create some block list items. So what the block list editor is a way of reusing content into blocks. So some ideal scenarios for this are a blog page where you could have different style blocks and you could render them and give the user the ability to drag and move them up and down to different orders. So for example, we're going to create an image block, a quote block, and a rich text editor block, and then we can add them down the page and render them out as we need to. You could create a carousel block or carousel item, and you can just obviously put that out with that could have a media picker, a heading, and something else, and you could render that into a carousel. You can use it for all sorts of different content. It does make the page a lot more customizable. So let's create these content types. Element types. So we are going to create an image block, and we are going to say it's an element type. So it won't have any views because we're going to render it ourselves. And we will create, just call it content for now. That's fine. Right, let's create and add a property called image. Yeah, let's have a media picker. And we'll have image, and then we'll have a summary underneath it. We'll just create a text area and we'll call that summary. Now if we save that, that should appear in the element types. There we go. Well, we can give this an image. Is there an image? That'll do. And then we are going to create a quote block, wasn't it? A quote block. And on the quote block, we are going to have a tab called content. If I can spell. We'll have a text area for the quote. And then we'll have just a text box for the site. Is there a quote? That will do. And that's what we've got. No, we didn't save that. My bad. We need to save that as an element type. Great. And then we are going to add an RTE block. So let's add we'll call this RTE block. And make sure this is an element type. We'll add a tab called content. And on that, we're just going to add a rich text editor and call it content, just for speed. Otherwise, this video is going to get even longer. Great. Let's just put text. That will do. Great. So we have the element types now, which we can use. So if we go to our content and we create a blog page, so if we just create a blog page, we can say first blog page. Let's set the header up. Okay, blog post, and we will just grab an image of that will work. And or whatever we want on there. So the block list editor works by opening up the content we're allowed to pick in the window here. So as you can see, these are the ones we're allowed. So let's just pick an RTE block, and we'll call this opening paragraph. Now each one has to have a name, because if you haven't got a content block preview, it's just a name that appears so you know which block is what. We will just pop some text in there. Let me just copy that over. Okay, we'll copy that from Bacon Ipsum. There we go. That's the first block. And also you can drag these around and change the order once you've added them in. Let's add a quote block. Quote. And we'll just call that Yoda quote. that, and then we'll probably add another rich text editor block. Let's paste some more bacon, and let's paste that in, and then we'll add an image. Let's just use an image block, feature image or something. Doesn't matter at the minute. Just an example. Let's just pick one of these again. We'll just pick the about one. But anyway, that will do. So as you can see, it just does it by name for now. We set the header up, so let's just save that. And we've got a page here. So now if we go over to the home page, let's just go to the home page and let's see if it displays. There we go. There's our first blog summary. So if we go to the blog, hopefully we get no, we don't have anything there. Why is that not showing? If I click on that, does that show? No, it doesn't show. So okay, we haven't got the content blocks. So let's just go and fix the content block. So we need some way of rendering each block. So what we can do is we can create a component that matches the content type alias of the element type, or the alias of the element type, and we can render that out on the page. We can also use that for the preview or create a completely new preview. So we'll just start building that out now. So let's go back to the actual code. Let's open that up. Okay, so here we go, content blocks, content block preview. Let's just quickly look at the blog page view, or the blog view. I wonder why that didn't show the post previews. We can come back to that, that's not a problem. I'll have a look at that in a minute. So what we need to do is we need to create some content blocks to match the element types we've created. So we want to create like an image block, a quote block, and an RT block. So I'm just going to create those really quickly with the video paused underneath content blocks, then we'll run through each one. Okay, great. So I've just created those very quickly. So let's open up the RT block, very simple. So to make a content block, you just need to implement iContent block, which again will make you have to have a piece of content and also a content type alias. So we want to match RTE block, which is the content type alias, which will show you where that is on the content type, just underneath the name. And then we've created a quote block. This is all bootstrapped, by the way, this code, same thing. And we've created an image block where we grab the image using the get media extension. Again, this is all this querying is in the documentation. And we display an image with a site underneath it. Great, so let's see if we spin that up. Actually, while I was here, why wasn't that showing? That's right, we didn't add an amount per page to show on the blog. So let's just spin this up really quickly. We'll close that down, close that down. Let's reload our page. So if we go to the settings, let's go to our blog, and then we want to add a property. Let's add a numeric, and we'll have an amount per page. Great, we will save that, and then we'll go back to our pet blog. We will set that to be 4 for the time being. Great, I think that was fix that problem, and then we now want to add the content in. So we want to preview the content. Let's have a quick look at the blog itself. So we have added those content blocks in, which I think I showed you on the blog page. Yeah, I didn't. So what you have is we have a helper component called render block. You can use this. You pass in the component, or the block, the content, and then you say the view that you want, the type of a component that you're going to render. We want to look for iContent block view, and we want to render that in there. So here we go. If we come back in here, our iContent block view, let's go to our blog page view. We are looping through all of the content blocks, which is the list of content that we've created, and you get that again using the get value excuse me, extension method for the properties. We're just looping through them and rendering them out, and it should know based on the element alias which one to display, because we've set the alias here in each one. As long as our names are correct that I've added in the back, it should work. So if we click on this, there we go. It's adding the RTE, there's the quote, there's the RTE, and there's the image that's been added. So that seems to work nicely. So let's go back to the blog and see if that, there you go, the blog's now working because we've added the amount per page. So that loads in fine. So then we can reuse those content blocks as the previews for the block list editor. So if you remember, we added in the block list editor, but it has just text. But actually, you might want to show the actual text or the image or everything else. It's, you know, everything else. So what we can do is we can use the content block preview. So let's go to the content block preview code. Let's go back down here. Come into here. Now in these previews here, I'm just going to add. I'm going to add some content block previews just for speed, and then we'll come back to it. Okay, so I've added in a quote block preview and an RT block preview. Now all you have to do again is create a component, implement I content block preview, and then you can just add in whatever you want to show in the back office or in the admin to the user. Now what's cool, this is why I like Blazor, I'm just going to use the same quote that I'm going to show in the front end this time, because the quote block accepts a parameter of content. So as long as I pass in a parameter of content, it will render. So I'm just going to take the content and just pass it back into the quote block that I've already created, and I'm going to display it. So the content type alias again, this time you actually get a content type for the preview, so you can display icons and things off the content type. But again, RTE is exactly the same. I've just used the RTE block. I haven't done the media block or the image block, just to show you what it's going to look like in the back end. So let's just go to the back end, just so we can see that preview. Just close this down, go back to here. Great, there you go. So it actually renders the RTE, the quote, the text, and then obviously this, we didn't create a preview for the image, so that doesn't display it, just displays the same one. So you can obviously customize this to look however you want it to look. And obviously once you want to re-edit these, I didn't show you, obviously you just click on the cog icon, or if you wanted to remove one of the rows, just delete it. You just save the page and that's it. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. What haven't I shown? So home, about us, the contact us form. Okay, so let's create the contact us form. Great, so let's just go to code, turn it off for now, and I am going to, under custom here, I'm going to create a custom component, which is going to be a contact form. I'm just going to copy that in for speed. Great, here we are. So this is just a normal Blazor component. The only thing I've done is I've implemented or added the I custom content component. That's how it picks it out and knows that you can pick it in the back office. The rest of it is just Blazor. Obviously I can pass in a content parameter. The rest of it literally is just Blazor. Now what is different about this is I am setting the render mode on this to interactive server, because the front end, the whole front end of the CMS is static, is server-side rendered static, or static server rendered. I don't know how they say the acronym, but that's the new thing in .NET 8. You can have statically rendered Blazor. So it's just like MVC or Razor Pages. So, but I want this rendered component to be interactive, because I want to be able to use interactive Blazor. So this is just a completely simple form. It's all Blazor, nothing fancy. Just takes in a contact form model. It even takes the data annotations. When I submit it, I just say sent equals true, and I just display a message. That's it. Doesn't do anything fancy. So all we need to do now is, because we've implemented the I custom content component, that should now be available in the custom component picker. So let's just go and add that. Let's go and add that into the page. Contact us form. There it is. So we're going to select the contact form. We're going to save the page. And then what we're going to do is we're going to render, that should render the form out for us. Okay, so now we'll go to the page, we'll go to contact us, and there's the form. So now I hit send. There you go. It's all all interactive, and I can submit the form on the page using Interactive Server. And that's it. We have created a site that's easily extendable, has fully content managed using static Blazor on the front end, and that is showing how to make a blog and everything on the back end. I apologize for the whizzed through, very crappily edited video, but that hopefully gives you an idea of how to do everything.